Hey folks, it's Eric from Support Adventure, and I'm here in Thailand, and I'm riding out the Corona era on an island in Thailand. It's pretty good. Anyways, I wanted to talk about scaling your MSP, going up and beyond 5 technicians, because that tends to be where we see the biggest pain points in MSPs that are trying to expand their operations. When they already have 5 people internally, and they've all been in an office together, or they have 5 people who are working, and they're all chatting with each other all the time. And then they want to expand beyond that. They want to go and get a bunch of new clients, hire a bunch of level 1s, another level 3 technician, all that stuff. And basically, that's when people's lives turn to chaos if the right structure is not in an MSP. At that point, when they start adding people, it starts to be very stressful for the owners. Balls get dropped, complaints get made, clients get let down. And I'm here to tell you a little bit about how to put in some structure so that that does not happen. So basically, the main thing you need to do for your technicians, well, it might not have been necessary before this time. You need to set a clear list of expectations and sort of on a piece of paper, tell them what they need to do every day and what they're being held accountable for. This is the main thing with all businesses, because once you are all literally on the same page with something like this, a page of expectations, and we call it a role sheet, and it defines all the expectations and all these sort of links all of the sub-documents that are sort of governing their role. So they know where they're sitting, what they're required to do, and it's all linked from that one document. Forget about sending them emails every week saying, hey guys, could you do this? Hey guys, you could do that. And then 2 months later, it's like, hey, I told you an email 2 months ago. Hey, do this. And no, you need to keep a well-curated, centrally indexed location where all of the stuff that is governing their role, all of the rules that you're asking them to follow are well explained in a well-indexed manner, in clear language, with everybody being shown this, and everybody, whenever they're outside of those rules, they're not asked to look in their inbox for 2 months ago when you sent that email saying, hey guys, could you blah, blah, blah. They're actually referred to the same document each time. And after the third time, I would think if you have to refer somebody to the same document each time, a light bulb after the third time, maybe even the first time, would go off in their head and go, so all of these things on this list, I have to do them, and now I'll be doing a good job and my boss will like me. Even the most intelligent technicians, like they can be most stubborn about following procedures. You need to show them this, and you need to keep on going back to it so that they can see a consistency and a fairness to the way that you're actually putting down the law of how you want your company to run. Basically, that's it. That's the main thing. So what I'm talking about on these sheets is like stuff like how they should start their day, things they should do, how they clock in, using something like T-sheets. T-sheets is from QuickBooks. How they should be looking at their queue at the start of the day, how they should be scheduling their time throughout the day, the systems they should be logging on to, all that sort of stuff should be on a checklist so they can look, hey, this is my job. This is where I start for the day. I have to do all these things before I get cracking. And this will take 5 minutes, but I'll do it. And then I'll know I'm up and running. I know what I'm checking throughout the day. I know that my phone extension needs to be on and available. I know that my email has to be open. I know the ticketing system, the RMM, everything has to be open. So I am ready to rock. And I've got all my tickets scheduled either by my dispatcher, or I've got, made my own schedule on what I want to do. I've got some meetings booked. I know what those meetings are going to be about, and I'm prepped for the day. And throughout the day, some guidelines on how they should behave after that. So like ticketing systems, for example, how are they expected to show you what they're working on through the ticketing system? Most of the time it's like, change the status to in progress when you are working on a ticket, and then change it to resolve once you're done with it, and all that stuff. And it just sort of needs to be clear in writing for the list of expectations. So you need also clear policies on how they're supposed to get assigned tickets, whether it's from dispatcher or they're taking it off a service board of incoming tickets, or it's automatically assigned to them by the ticketing system. Whatever it is, make it clear that they know what the deal is and they know what the rules are. If they're assigning themselves tickets, what the rules are about cherry picking, what the rules are about leaving tickets for the other guys, what the rules are about scheduling the tickets you're assigning yourself, all that stuff. Make it very clear. And escalation. Make it very clear that if they can't solve a ticket, how they escalate it. What is the policy? What do they have to write on the notes? Escalation required, and then what I tried to solve the issue, why I can't solve the issue, possible next steps, any other info that someone receiving the ticket would like to have, such as callback times. Put that all on an escalation and then change it to a certain status that will trigger a workflow rule, and your ticketing system will let the dispatcher or service desk manager know that a ticket has been escalated and then unassign themselves, and stuff like that, how to escalate. The worst escalation policies I've ever seen are, yeah, just put it in chat, man, and yeah, just ask us in chat. And because there's no clear actual policy on, after they ask in chat, who has responsibility for solving that ticket? Do they have the responsibility for every period of time sort of chasing up the people in chat and say, hey guys, are you there? Are you going to help me? I chatted with you 2 hours ago. Well, people are busy and they might miss chat messages, especially if there's nonstop nonsense in the chat. So you need a clear escalation policy where ownership is transferred to another person, or whatever it is, to get the answers, keep it going, and have it passed back to the person. Usually dispatcher would handle that, but what's the clear escalation policy? And what are their tickets being reviewed on? What are the ticket notes being reviewed on? What's the criteria? What are the sort of KPIs that people are supposed to have on their tickets? SLA response time, initial response time, customer feedback surveys, all that stuff. Make it clear. So when they finish working on a ticket, make a checklist. You finish working on a ticket, do this, this, and this to make sure that your ticket is a well done ticket. So you also need clear processes for onboarding, offboarding, and common tasks for your clients. So the biggest chaos, and this is where lack of documentation usually comes from, is when you onboard a client and it's done randomly with a technician running around like a chicken with its head cut off, and sort of just like, they don't know what they're doing. They're running around a client's office and they're just sort of like, okay, look, there's a printer. Let's write down printer. And they haven't done a systematic way of documenting everything. And then they leave sites and they realize that they were just running around randomly, writing down random things. And you don't actually have the information about the client that you're going to need. So, just put an end to that. Make a structured onboarding document with checklists for all of the documentation you need to get and how it gets put into your documentation system. And it'll be a lot easier from there on forward to onboard clients. Same with offboarding. What taste do you want to leave in people's mouth when they stop becoming your client? They decide to go for one of those bargain-based MSPs, or your staff messed up because of a lack of structure and how a disaster was dealt with, for example. That's a big one. Have an emergency procedure when there's a huge outage of a whole office or something. Call them back every half an hour. Make sure it's someone's responsibility to take ownership and keep the client in the loop. Anyways, what was I talking about? Yeah, so offboarding. Yeah, what kind of taste do you want to leave in people's mouths when they stop becoming a client? Hopefully we went the extra mile to make sure that the IT company that's coming on has the best chance to hit the ground running. And then guess what? If they fail them, if you were better, they'll go back to you probably with their tail between their legs. So also common tasks. How do you onboard a user for every single client? What's the checklist of stuff that the people need? What's the process for creating a user on email, Active Directory, other systems, so on and so forth? Write those down for every single client. So the key person that you need in all of this is a dispatcher. A dispatcher is basically a person who is a supervisor of the service desk running a process-based role to move tickets along, take tickets into the service desk, escalate them, complete them, keep contact with the client about how tickets are progressing and all of that. Dispatcher is not a manager. A lot of people confuse these two roles. A dispatcher is somebody who is essentially moving tickets, prodding engineers. When are you going to do this ticket? Why didn't you write proper notes on this ticket? What's the status of this ticket? Can we schedule for this for Tuesday? Calling clients saying, hey, I see that we're still waiting for you to get back to us on this. Do you know when this is going to be done? Has that printer been delivered? So on and so forth. Basically, yeah, the dispatcher is a key part of any operation because it allows for accountability over the technicians. It allows for a certain amount of regularity on the way that clients are entering the support process and having the support process completed, because the dispatcher enforces regularity. The dispatcher is the one who assigns all the tickets rather than random tickets going to random texts at random times, you know, with random phone calls and stuff. It can be like a chaos. It can be like a hurricane that just comes in. So yeah, get that dispatcher. Get him given a very well-defined set of procedures that he can or she can put in place and govern the technicians with. And anything that fits outside of that system, anything that causes a complaint, anything that needs optimized in the procedures to change in the way the dispatch is behaving, that's when you have a manager, a service desk manager. And this person is the person who's responsible for the function of the system that the dispatch is running, that the technicians are using to do their job. And they're looking at metrics, they're looking at complaints, they're looking at reviews from technicians, they're looking at why tickets are taking so long, they're looking at how onboardings are going, how much noise there is after onboardings about additional stuff that didn't get onboarded correctly. They're looking at how the dispatcher is doing their job and how the technicians are doing their job and how the whole system is functioning. It's an oversight role. It's one step above the supervisor dispatch process space. It's an analytical role that reports to or is owner / executive management. And these are the people who will really be the brains behind your service desk, because they're looking at the way the people behave on it. They're looking at the way that the statistics look. They're looking at the way that, you know, people are reacting to your support process, the client satisfaction, and they're essentially being the sort of traffic cop who sort of directs traffic when the traffic lights are, you know, not serving the benefit of everybody. So make sure you have that, and make sure that they are creating, rather than managing chaotically and giving random orders to random people, working through a system that's run by the dispatcher. Then you, I'm assuming I'm speaking to the owner or executive of a company, you can sit above all of that and sort of hold the service desk manager accountable for holding the dispatcher accountable, for holding all the technicians accountable to getting stuff done. If you're the owner of the company, you don't want to have to talk to individual technicians about what they're doing if you've grown past 5 people. Really, you don't. It's counterproductive. You'll be thinking, as the owner of my business, I think too much about the dollars and cents of my business, about losing clients and all this stuff, and you should too. But you should have people who work on the levels below you who are a little more methodical on sort of running the parts of your business so that there's more consistency, because consistency is what you're selling as an MSP. Consistency is what can go wrong when you hire more than 5 people who are essentially out of touch with each other, especially if they're working remotely. And consistency is what makes your brand stick out, what makes you better than other MSPs that are just a bunch of dudes sitting around, like a lot of them under 5 people are. So make a system, be on top of it, have somebody else on top of the system that's run by the person who's running the system, that's the dispatcher. And you can just sort of be there and make it fair. And okay, make sure that everybody has a way of having regular meetings and giving their input on the system, how it's working for them. Tweak the system based on that, but make sure there is a system, make sure that it is fair for everybody, and make sure that everybody's following it, that everybody is sort of like on the ball, and tweak the system as needed. And then you'll have an MSP that's scalable. It's that simple. So if you like this video, I mean, there's lots more insight. We can help consult on the writing documents for all of this stuff. I can get on a call with you, explain more about your specific situation. My name is Eric, Support Adventure. Thanks for watching. If you like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Take care. Bye now.